everybody! Welcome to another Daily Tips for Adventurers. Today's tip, I'm going to talk about dining reservations. So we've covered some fast pass stuff and crowd things and footwear. Dining reservations is another thing that you'll hear me talk about a lot. So as you're planning, I have a blog post that's coming out. It's going to talk about saving for your trip. You want to plan enough time in ahead so you can save, but also so you can make sure that you can make the fast pass reservations that you want, as well as dining reservations. So in the last video, you might have watched Adam talking about fast pass reservations, and if you didn't watch that, you should definitely go back because it's really helpful. And if you're staying on Disney Resort, you can book 60 days in advance, or 30 days if you're not staying on a resort. Dining works a little bit differently. Regardless of whether you're staying on resort or not, you can make dining reservations 180 days in advance. Now, if you are staying on resort and you happen to book your vacation, say 200 days in advance, okay, you can make your dining reservations for your whole trip starting 180 days from your very first day of your trip, which means that you might still be 181, 182, 183, depending on how long your trip is, 190 days out from, your last day in the park, but you can still make those dining reservations 180 days from the very first day of your reservation, which is handy because there are some restaurants that are really difficult to get reservations for. For example, the Be Our Guest restaurant in Magic Kingdom is like the hot reservation right now. You can really only get reservations for that 180 days-ish in advance. So the closer to 180 days that you try to reserve, the better. And that goes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So at dinner time, it is a sit down, and they have a prefix meal. It just launched this summer. And that takes reservations. The lunchtime is a quick service, but it also takes reservations. And breakfast, also quick service and takes reservations. Now, if you don't have reservations, you can always try going up and trying to get seated. They might have space, they might not, and especially depending on how big your party is. So for example, when we traveled with my family at Christmas time, there were 12 of us. So we wanted to make sure that we could all sit, and all of us went for dinner, and then 7 of us went for lunch another day because we hadn't done lunch, so we wanted to try it. So I made those reservations like 180 days out from our very first day of our trip. And we were able to get the dinner part, not for the first couple of days, because it was already booked for the times we wanted, because we like to eat earlier dinners, because we just do. We have kids and we have older people, and we're all just a lot happier if we have like a 4:30 dinner, and then we can play the rest of the night and snack if we want, but not have like a really late dinner. Anyway, so not for the first couple of days. We had to wait until we were a little further into our trip, so closer to like 185 days out from our vacation to get the time that we wanted for the number of people that we wanted. If there's only 2, 3, 4 of you, it might be a little bit easier to get reservations. It was easier for us to get our lunch reservations for the 7 of us, first because it was lunch, and second because there were only 7 of us instead of 12. Anyway, you want to make sure that you're planning these things in advance. A lot of other restaurants might not fill up like that. Be Our Guest is one that does. Cinderella's Royal Table is one that does. Those are the 2 main ones. Cinderella's Royal Table is where you can go and like see all of the princesses. So those ones in particular really do fill up. Others, you might can get reservations for just a couple weeks in advance. When we go to our Via Napoli in Italy, we can get those reservations usually a couple of weeks in advance. There was one time when we went at spring break with my brother, and we were able to get them the day of. But that's not always the case. Like, we were in line in the morning, and I was like, what if we had pizza for dinner? And I happened to be able to find a reservation. It doesn't always happen. Like I said, if you don't have dining reservations, you can try to be a walk-in. who knows if you'll be able to sit, and that'll be different times of the year will have different availabilities. So when you're planning, if you want to be eating at some place like Be Our Guest, or character dining in general tends to fill up a little bit more, make sure that you're making your reservations as early as you can, which is 180 days. Maybe you're not planning your trip that far out, that's fine. If the minute that you book your trip and know exactly what days you're going, you need to be making reservations for those particular restaurants. Others, it's not going to matter as much, but some of them do. So make sure that you're planning ahead. That's today's daily tip for adventurers, is to plan your dining reservations ahead, 180 days if possible. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in, and until our next adventure tip.